What's up, YouTube? Welcome to ExceedTheHype.com. It's your boy Lucrecio coming at you with another video. Alright, this video is about the best rivalry we have in the NBA going right now, and that's the OKC Thunder and the Golden State Warriors. Okay, so this rivalry has been going back a couple years. 2 years ago, we saw these teams play in the playoffs where OKC was up 3 games to 1, and the Golden State Warriors came back and won. Then we saw OKC's star, their main star, go to Golden State. And then last year, we saw it kind of fall flat because even though the animosity was there, and you saw Roberson and Westbrook and stuff going at Durant and going at the Warriors, OKC just didn't have the talent to really compete. They tried really hard to get with the Thunder, with the Warriors, but they just could not compete because they didn't have the talented enough players. Well, this year, there's been a swing. Golden State is still Golden State, of course, but OKC has just got a big influx of talent with Paul George and those guys. So what I expect to see is that it's going to balance it out a little bit. Not completely, but it's going to balance it out enough so that we can have a rivalry in the playoffs, all right? And these are the ways that I believe OKC can both challenge and possibly knock off the Golden State Warriors, all right? Starting with the player improvement, starting with Andre Roberson, right? Andre Roberson is my favorite player on the OKC Thunder's team, but he really just needs to get better as a basketball player. He has certain skills that he needs to improve. He's a great defender. He's a great on-ball defender. He's a great help defender. And he's a very versatile defender. So he's obviously a real threat when it comes to OKC, when it comes to the Warriors or whatever. He's able to switch from Curry to Durant to Draymond or whatever the case may be. He can guard basically anybody on that front line. What he needs to improve on, number one, he needs to improve his three-point shooting, but that's difficult. So I expect to see a little bit of an improvement when it comes to his three-point shooting, but it may not be a whole lot, right? What he really needs to improve on, though, more than anything, is that free throw shooting. He cannot be a liability like that from the free throw line. It just cannot work. Like, he absolutely cannot be that much of a liability where it's a hack of Robertson situation and he's, you know, bricking free throws and the benches are laughing at him, and it's just a bad look. You can't have that. You got to improve your your free throw shooting. He was a 75% free throw shooter before, right? So he's definitely going to have to improve that, and he's going to have to give OKC something. So if we go back 2 years ago in the playoffs, he was helping out on offense a little bit because, number one, he was shooting a little bit better from 3, but the main reason was he was getting a lot of the backdoor cuts and things of that nature because of the attention Golden State had to play on Durant and Westbrook. Well, last year that dried up because it's only one guy you have to pay attention to on that team as far as creating his own shot, and that's Westbrook, right? So all those little backdoor cuts and those easy layups that he was getting because the defense was sleeping, that stuff dried up. Well, I'm here to say, with the addition of Paul George, that stuff's going to open back up. He's going to be able to utilize that off-the-ball movement and those cuts and get those easy buckets again versus the Warriors if they were to play in that series. So I believe he will be able to contribute something to stay on the court. He just needs to make the free throws, and he needs to shoot a little bit better from the three-point line. You can't expect a lot. You can't expect to say, oh, he's going to come out and shoot 42% from 3. But he can shoot better. He can shoot better than that. He shot better than that in the past. All right. Another thing is Steven Adams, once again, he regressed last year. Once again, he needs to play on that level that he played 2 years ago in that playoff series. Steven Adams, everybody thought he was having a coming out party and was going to become, you know, the next good big man in the NBA and all this stuff. And last year we just saw it taper right back off. Well, it needs to get back on schedule. And this cancer needs to improve defensively. It's not too much. If you're slow laterally, you're just slow laterally. It's not a whole lot you can do to become fast laterally, but just understanding the game, he can be better. He can be technically better on defense. He can be a little bit smarter on defense. So I expect that from Enes Kanter. All this to happen in the offseason so they can have a better chance to fight, a better fight against Golden State if they were to play in the playoffs. the next thing that needs to happen is the new additions to the team need to pan out. So Paul George is obviously the biggest addition. He was the prize of this well, he wasn't a free agent, but this offseason. Everybody wanted Paul George. They knew he was going to be available because he was a one-year rental. Cleveland wanted him. Everybody wanted him on the team because he's a really good player. He's a great two-way player. And even beyond the two-way, the defensive portion of that, he's just a great star. Like, he can score inside, he can score outside, he can play make. If necessary, he can rebound. You know, he can do whatever you need him to do. He's one of those players who can fill in a lot of the gaps that a team may have. So Paul George is going to be a huge factor. I think he's going to fit perfectly with Westbrook as far as a complementary star to him, and is going to give Westbrook a little bit of an ease, and he won't have to do as much offensively, which will ultimately make the team a better team. Patrick Patterson. Well, let's talk about Patrick Patterson. Who is Patrick Patterson? Patrick Patterson, he's played the majority. He's a Kentucky guy. He played the majority of his career with the Raptors. He's a very good stretch four. And he's a very good defender. He's a pretty good defender, very good defender, somewhere in there. He's not a create off the dribble guy. He's not really a post-up guy, really. So basically what you're going to get from him is defense and three-point shooting, which is fine if he can give you both those things. Having him playing the 4, and I imagine maybe a little bit of 5 if they go to a super small lineup, can be big for OKC. Let's move on to Terrence Ferguson. He's another one of those 3-and-D guys. He's going to be a guy who plays in between Westbrook and Paul George. You're going to need for him to be good quick. He doesn't have the luxury of waiting a couple years to really become the player that he's going to be. He has to become that player pretty soon, and it looks like he has the skill set to do it. From what I've seen from the Australian tapes that you could get out there on YouTube and other sites or whatever, he looks like he has that game that will fit perfectly. The defense looks good. He's athletic, which is another good thing. It looks like he has some long arms or whatever. He has the physical attributes to be a good defender. He has the reputation of being a good defender, and he has a reputation of being a good three-point shooter. So let's see. We'll see how he fits in. I'm sure if that's his game, that will fit perfectly. We'll see whether or not he can do it. All right. And then they just acquired Ray Felton as a backup point guard. Now, that may not sound like a big deal, but Ray Felton is a really good excuse me. Scratch that from the record. He's not a really good point guard. He's a really good backup point guard, in my opinion. I think back to when he played for Dallas in the playoffs. He's a gamer. He plays pretty good in the playoffs or whatever. Just as long as he's not your lead guy, just as long as you're not expecting him to be like your starting point guard or star point guard or whatever, he can definitely be a good off the bench contributor. He can initiate, he can get you in your offense. It won't be a situation like last year where as soon as Russell Westbrook steps off the court, then whatever lead or whatever cushion they had evaporates immediately. So we won't expect that to happen. All right. So basically, your new acquisitions and additions to the team need to pan out, all right, to be able to challenge the Warriors. And then Russell Westbrook needs to be Russell Westbrook. He needs to be the MVP again. Now, when I say the MVP, I don't mean he needs to try to average a triple-double. He won't. In my opinion, he will not average a triple-double. He should not average a triple-double this upcoming year. That was kind of a one-time thing. He had the opportunity to do it, so he did it. But he will need to. I'd like to see mid to high 20s in scoring, and then I want to see him keep the 10 assists. He's not going to have the rebounds, and he doesn't need to have the rebounds. But I'd like to see him keep the 10 assists because that tells me that he's still keeping his teammates involved, but I'd like to see the usage rate go down. So he needs to find a way to keep the assist number, but get that usage rate down because it's not going to be a situation where he has the ball all the time and he has to create every single thing for his teammates. I doubt that'll be the situation this upcoming year. So it's really going to be about maximizing the time that you have with the ball without necessarily having the ball the whole game or whatever. So, but I do expect big things from Russell Westbrook again. And then if they were to play the Warriors in the series, I totally expect him to dominate Steph Curry and give them an advantage in taking them down, or at least giving them a good challenge. All right. Leave your comments. Let me know if you agree, if you disagree, what you think about whether or not OKC can challenge or beat the Golden State Warriors. All right. See you next time.